Yesterday I made a video titled Struggles, wherein I spoke about how a concernable number, of the general population, like a number that is significant enough for you to watch out, are probably just compensating for their wounds and just probably numbing them without really, healing the underlying issue. And I spoke about my first hand experience, of course, because it looks so real, damn it. Okay, even right now, even in the midst of all of this knowledge, all of my inner work and yada yada, it does in fact look like, or it looks very real to me. What my deepest values probably are to contribute to the world, to help people and make this world a better place, maybe even understand the nature of reality. Something that humans have been trying to do forever, like, what makes humans humans, I guess. But they are hijacked by these wounds, or all these things of having my inner world really known. It goes as far as, me thinking that a life, without truly being known is not worth living, which is not true. And it looks so real, and that is one of, like, the opinions I shared yesterday. I did not say that all people in relationships were faking it, or all successful people were faking it. I myself have created a lot of things, and I observed that some of them, they come from a place of wanting to prove myself better than other people. But something that I failed to realize was it is mostly mixed. There is genuine interest, and there's also the component wherein you're compensating for your wounds. And I think I should have argued that, your job is to probably minimize the wounds. Anyway, that is not what this video is going to be about. This video is going to be about examining your beliefs, because after I made that video, I got a bunch of LLMs, because, dude, I couldn't go to one real person, because there's only so much they know. Yeah, one person, it is at the end of the day going to be just an opinion. And a parallel to this could, also, of course, be about trusting your own inner authority, because in one way I'm kind of outsourcing, all of these belief systems and examining them. But I think you should also be responsible for maybe researching how valid your views are, or opinions are. And that is something I did most of my life. I am not kidding. I wore my heart on my sleeve. I had a philosophy system, a way that I looked into the world, and I was as honest as possible. I see people, damn it. I see how damn strategic they are. I see how they're trying to be in the good books of everyone, and it's people endlessly talking smack about each other behind each other's backs, and it works, sure, it works, and maybe that is the way I live, but that is not the way I want to live my life. Okay, earlier I would criticize them. Okay, this is Inception, by the way. Okay, earlier I'd criticize them for living a life like that, probably even an inferior life. But the reason I found out, my belief system was probably coming from a place of low self-worth, is because I'd gone and chosen to examine it. I'd risk being arrogant. I'd risk calling people out and breaking friendships, relationships. And I wouldn't use the word the right people are gonna show you the truth, but I would reference you to a previous video on empathy, or whatever, how the world has turned into this place of moral judgment and test of your character. Because when I would go, and I would ask people's philosophy to life, and most people my age, they don't have hobbies. Okay, they don't do this, or it is just turned into this mass production. And we spoke about this, so I just go to them and I'd ask them, I think I'm living, a much fuller life than you, and all of this, there's a very human component to all of this. Mindlessly partying every weekend, or maybe not deeply examining life, is probably not the best way to live, or it is not in the human spirit per se. And people would get offended, damn it. I get that I was flaring their wounds, or I was making them feel small. I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, you also have to understand that this examination of your beliefs is very important. I see a lot of people, they hold their stringent beliefs within themselves, and you see the dishonesty, damn it. You see them have an internal judgment structure, but it doesn't come out. They could internally just go, man, this guy is a clown for saying this, but they won't say it outright. They wouldn't tell you why your belief is, that they disagree with your belief, or they would gladly laugh at it behind your back, or they would gladly bring a bunch of people that disagree with said belief and laugh at you for it. It's probably a way of coping with their wounds, but you see the point, right? Even if someone were to do something bad, I don't want to go to extreme examples, but you see shades of this in the justice system, or the way we're pursuing this is right now is a death for a death, or an eye for an eye, and things like that. It is never really looking into things. And last video I spoke about how that may not be the most objective way, or the most productive way of going at it. Because if your goals are to actually minimize bad things happening in the world, you wouldn't do that. But you can probably watch the video. But back to the point of examining your beliefs, the way society has turned all of this, the way mistakes are often put on your character, is a very deeply concerning issue, because people are very 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 becoming, what's the word for people not really being themselves, having masks to put on. I get that for diplomacy, I get that, but there is, you don't want to ruin relationships, but there is actually a serious part where you have to examine your beliefs, and it is astonishing how so many people don't do that. Gee, we have people on the left side thinking they're right, and people on the right side thinking they're right, and paradoxically they're both right. Don't know how, but it does feel like they're both right. Okay, now I'd like to move on to inner authority, because it does feel like I'd done most of this outsourcing, belief systems and whatnot. I have made mistakes, clearly, before. I am human, damn it. Okay, I do some messed up things as well, things that I probably don't want to talk about, but things I did when I was hurt, or this or that, and I attributed all of this. Or even a great example of this could be calling people NPCs, and it would, well, a truly secure person, a person that loved me, or a person who's emotionally would have seen what I was trying to do, an examination of my beliefs, or probably there's a wounded child inside trying to gain control. But dude, nobody did that to me. Nobody is looking for the solution. They all want to make themselves feel better by calling me a bad person. This guy thinks he's better than us. This guy's this guy's that. And even the fact that I'm hurt, or the fact that I'm lost, or all of that, are apparently attributed to karma, being this guy hurts people, so he deserves all the hurt back. Which, what a weird way of putting it. Anyway, we were talking about internal authority because I had outsourced all of the belief system, or examining the belief system. It should have been examining the belief system, but I had outsourced others' opinions of my belief system to be the truth. What I completely failed to take into account or realize was that most people are not psychologists, damn it. Most people are looking at the world through their own wounds and their own biases, and ultimately, there is no thing as the absolute truth. So it's just this kind of struggle, I guess. But something that I've come to terms lately is that you shouldn't be any less deserving of empathy or self compassion just because you were rude or just because you were arrogant, and more importantly, arrogance that comes from a place of genuine curiosity. It does happen, and I don't know why people aren't willing to forgive it. Would you rather endlessly just pretend, just all pretend to agree with each other and like each other when you all secretly have an animosity towards each other? Is that what we really want? I see this happening even in the closest of all relationships, and not the relationships I want to build, man. I want to look at the other person and have them exactly know my thought process. That is vulnerability to me, because if we're doing diplomacy in the freaking bedroom, what is the point? And then of course I probably want to revisit some of the things I said last video about wounds, because a good amount, or rather almost everyone has really no knowledge of, not a whole lot of account into psychology, inner workings, yada yada. So they are oblivious to it. So I mean, it is very much plausible that a lot of people, they just inherit good personality, secure attachment, while the rest of us have to build it. And it is absolutely possible that a lot of people are compensating for their wounds, and it does look very real, damn it. And last video was also a question of what happiness even is, because I'm sure, okay, my wounds are me wanting to be really understood, or me thinking a life without being seen isn't a worth, a life worth living, or a life with friends is it. And if I'd gotten what I wanted, I would first time tell you that I'm living the dream, bro. I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people. And then we could, of course, talk about healing, and how a lot of people think time heals, but no, it is actually what you do within the time. I recently had a bad friendship feud or whatever. Not something I want to get into, but wounds or whatever. No, not wounds. Damn it. Wounds are what is internally within you, but all the external events like breakups or bad interpersonal struggles, or even struggles with yourself, are reflections of your wounds, and who you are, taking over you, controlling you in some sense. So, right, we were we were talking about healing, and how all external events are just reflections of your wounds, and your wounds taking over you, or hijacking you in some sense. So what people usually, I see people do this a lot, I have done this a lot, is patterns of repeating behavior. And it's usually something bad happens, no one goes to the root cause analysis. Nope, we're going to get away from that situation, and we are going to trust ourselves to not do that again. And this is a very, very, very arrogant take, because brain chemistry, psychology, consciousness, creativity, how we interact with the world, and the nature of reality are things we know frighteningly little about. And people just throwing this as something, man, I'm not gonna do this again, is deeply concerning. My God. But yeah, healing is only healing if you do something with that time. because I'm sure if I'm not doing this inner work, um, all my interpersonal conflicts or my conflicts with the world or the way I feel, the way I look at things well are obviously going to come up and crop up in some different forms. That is the first point. The second point in healing is this dangerous belief or labeling, something that we spoke about in the beginning of the video. Is most people would probably dismiss me as not needing empathy, or not deserving empathy, or not needing help. Probably I'm probably the biggest proponent of it, but I sure do talk for the society when I'm saying this. It's usually bad people are bad people, good people are good people, but nah, dude, good people are sometimes often people who are pretending to be nice, and maybe the real genuine ones are the ones who are wearing their heart on their sleeve. I don't want to martyr myself, but at the same time, yeah, if you look at it, someone who gets jealous a lot, who is obsessive, uh, and he is doing his genuine best to not be that, then dude, those are wounds, and stop maybe pretending like you know everything, or that they're a bad person, or there is so much that you don't know that is happening, and there's so much that you don't know that you don't know, and of course, and that is within all the things that we know, and we know frighteningly little about brain chemistry. That is all the things that we don't know as a species. My God. But one very good thing that we'd all developed is science, and science should definitely be used for the betterment of humanity. Science is kind of beautiful, because even if you have a bazillion people say this is this or that is that, science is still gonna show you an arrow to the truth. Now I know all the times I'd felt jealous, or all the times I did this that. They're just poor coping mechanisms, or they're just a way for me to probably run away from the pain that my wounds were actively inflicting on me. Yeah, science, huh? And then there's also this comes from science, by the way. Okay, science literally says that there is really no absolute truth when it comes to psychology and philosophy, which is very true. My way of living, I thought, was like the ultimate way, but turns out different people are different, and there's also a very philosophical discussion on why I should think my time is worth more than them, or why the ideal way of living life is creation and the pursuit of knowledge. I mean, I'd argue that that is what makes humanity special. Intelligence is what makes us special over other animals, and the traits that make us human are those. So I think we have to respect them. But then again, are humans really special? And it is just this endless snowball thing. So the best thing probably right now is to just find other people who are like you, and try to make this world a better place for everyone. Next video we should probably talk about how it's I don't know, okay, because once you get into an influential position, or something high up, there is this very dangerous debate, or even if you possess the power of media and influencing people. Maybe I have influenced people. I have a reel that got millions of views, but let's not go there. The kind of influence you're doing, and all of it, is it really right? Do you just leave the world to just be, or do you push your own opinions on top of the world, or you see this a lot with pro-life and pro-choice people. Pro-life people really think that life begins at conception, and I don't want to get into that debate, but fact of the matter is, they are in one way forcing their beliefs on everybody else. But you could say the same thing about law, damn it. I mean, and you see this in a lot of superhero movies, or with great power comes great responsibility, and how But aren't you biased at the end of the day? You are limited to, well, you are limited to yourself and how you look at the world and your experiences, and how can you even probably comprehend something that's good for everyone? Yeah, anyway, that's probably something for another day. Can you imagine if I forgot to hit record?